Hey, John.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. You're on your phone, it sounds like?
I got your latest email.
Awesome.
I haven't opened it up yet, but I got it.
That's okay. I just wanted to give you the updated numbers.
Yeah.
While
Okay.
I was doing some prep work to get ready for this and discovered that there was a small mistake in my calculations, so I sent you the updated one. But I'll be talking about that today anyway, so you'll still see the updated ones.
I'm amazed by the work you put in. It's really impressive what you do.
Yeah, I know. John, are you able to, are you in the Teams chat and able to see screen share and video and stuff?
No, I don't have video capability. I'll just have to listen in and talk.
So I'm going to be presenting a PowerPoint presentation. Would it be possible for you to connect without video, but still from your computer so you can see what's going on the screen?
I might be able to do that. Let's wait. Just see who else is on. Is your team ready? Kelly, I didn't know. Is Sam there too?
Sam is here, Laurel's here, and I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, Sherry, do you see most of our folks on, or can you tell?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, why don't we get started? I want to introduce y'all to a new team member for us, Judith Ponticell. Dr. Ponticell, as y'all know, is the interim dean of the College of Education. We're really happy to have her on our team. Many of you may know Dr. Ponticell, but she's replacing Dr. Knopel, as you know, went to Virginia. But we've got Jim Gary on the phone, Liz Cherubellini, Ruth Barr, Olga, Sherry is on, Linda de Blasio is on as well as myself. So I want to say good afternoon to everyone. Do you want to share who else on your team, Kelly or Sam?
Yeah, sure. So for our team, the people who are going to be talking are myself, Kelly Osterman, co-president for GAU. I'm from the Mechanical Engineering Department. Also visible at the moment is Laurel Meyerdix from the Philosophy Department, I believe. And then there's Sam Badger from also Philosophy. We might have either Lauren Byers or Cristal Cruz from United Faculty of Florida might chime in here and there. I don't see them here at the moment, though, so not exactly sure.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Let me kind of kick it off and then see where we go from there. This is a Teams meeting call. Some collective bargaining negotiations. I calculate it to be our 6th bargaining session.
I believe it's 4, if I recall correctly. We had January, we had May, June, and July is 4. And then there was the impact session, but that wasn't CBA related.
No, I didn't count that. I thought this was our 6th, but perhaps not. How many do you count?
So we had January, we had May, we had June, and we have this one makes 4.
4. Okay, well, I got that. I thought I had our first one. Yeah, you're right. January 24th. Then I had a March 27. Do you count that one or not?
March 27.
That session was canceled.
Right.
It was canceled, John, because we were in the state of Florida was in a safer at home order.
I guess that was right after the order came. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, we have 4. This is our 4th session, and we're meeting pursuant to Florida Statute 447.309. The last meeting is 23rd of June, 2020. And as I think we
So I lost John. Did anybody else lose John?
I lost John too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't hear him anymore.
I'm back on. I was going to say that if you recall, we at that last meeting, towards the end of it, talked about, okay, when would we meet next? And we had proposed the 24th of July, and y'all, of course, wanted to meet earlier, and we caucused and came back and said, well, we could do this 17th, which was a proposed date that you gave, but we had to understand that, we didn't know whether we would be able to, be prepared. So we went ahead and scheduled this, and we have worked pretty hard. We've got a proposal we want to give you. We want to address where we are and what we think would be going forward, what we ought to consider to do in the way of an agreement. But we want to thank you and your team, Sam and Kelly, for your hard work that you put in. Is very impressive. The calculations that obviously went into the methodology that you used, all of us were impressed on our team of the work that was put in since our last meeting. And we want to thank you for that.
Of course, we're academics, and this matters to us. Well, I should reverse that. This matters to us, so we put in a lot of work, and we're academics, so we documented our work.
Well, somebody put a lot of time into it, and we know that. And it really, what it did for us, in looking at it, and without confirming any, the calculations, we didn't have a chance to do that yet. I didn't get mine until Wednesday afternoon, and then I was tied up all day yesterday on another matter. But so it was this morning that I was able to kind of brush it off and look at it, but it confirmed to us that what the GAU really is after and seeking in an economic way is just not reasonable at this time, and it's not something that the university is going to be able to do. I think that one figure I saw was in 3 years, the cost, based on your calculations, was like $30 million. So it did. I think it highlighted for us when we received that from you that this is just not going to be in the cards. It's not going to be possible. We are faced, and I think I've kind of mentioned this before, with a huge time of uncertainty for the university, and. We know that the budget's been trimmed down. We're going to be getting a huge cut, and on top of that, the uncertainty of enrollment, and everything with this pandemic and the ramping up of what's going on with the virus has just made things very murky, and we believe that there's a real good chance that economically the university may be in a situation where compensation may need to be cut, not increased, but cut. That the costs of things are going to have to be put under a microscope, and we may end up having to trim back some of the economic provisions that would be in an agreement. So rather than be in a posture where the university feels as though we will have resources to make long-term commitments with financial commitments to increase the cost, it's the opposite. And so we are just not in a situation where we can increase the cost to the contract. And it's not anybody's fault that's on this call. This is the circumstance we find ourselves in. But what we're going to do, and we wanted to give you an idea of a proposal to kind of get us through the next year, and I can outline that if you'd like me to. I don't have anything in writing because we just haven't had time to do that, but I'll be glad to outline for you now what our proposal would be if you want to hear it.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I had my microphone turned on. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to walk everybody through the proposal GAU put forward on the table, and then I think we should hear your counter afterwards, just so we can, so that everybody, particularly everybody from our unit, can see what we're pushing for as well as what USF is looking to respond to.
Very good. Very good.
So I guess you might have to follow along. If you look at the most recent Actually, let me just email this to you so that.
I printed out everything that you sent me. I've got it in front of me.
Right. I found a miscalculation this morning, and so I'm just going to real quick send you a updated version. Rather, I sent you an updated version this morning of that spreadsheet, but I'm going to send you a copy of the PowerPoint that I'm about to present so that you
go
can
right
see.
ahead. Sure, Kelly.
That way you can be on the same page as everybody else, since you're not actually in the Teams call here with us.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so I will give you just a moment to check your email while I.
Yeah,
load
I'm
up
waiting
the
on it. It's not here
share.
yet. I'll let you know when it arrives.
Yep. And everybody else should see my full screen presentation. Laurel, can you confirm that?
Got it.
I can confirm it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I'll just wait a sec for John.
Yeah, it's not here yet, but I'm right here with my computer, so it should be. It has to go through a server in Atlanta. It takes a little bit, not long, but just give me a minute.
Kelly, is it possible for you to email this to me as well? This is Sherry. We have a few other members on our team that dial in because they don't have access to the computer.
I sent it to basically my entire team plus John, Dr. Gary, Dr. Barr, and yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this email was sent to that team at, I want to say 1:46 p.m. at first, and now it's been forwarded again.
Is it a very large file? Because I haven't gotten mine yet.
I don't believe so. It's like less than a megabyte.
Okay.
I don't see it yet either.
Let me make sure that I actually hit the send button. I believe I did.
You did, Kelly.
This is Jim. I haven't gotten it either,
Huh.
but I got the one you sent earlier today.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Well, all of the numbers are in that PowerPoint or in the Excel as well. So, although not presented exactly the same way. So,
Kelly, it just came through.
Okay, perfect.
So the others should get it too.
Yeah, Kelly, it just came through for me as well.
Cool. Okay. Does everybody have it open and ready to go?
I don't have it yet. I don't know if Sherry got it or not. I didn't get it.
John, I have it as well. I'm sending it to the other team members that are on the phone.
You want to send it to me as well? Maybe if I get it from you, I'll get it.
Okay.
John, you'll probably end up with 6 copies of it in your mailbox.
Well, I'd like to have just one. Did my name self-populate, Kelly, or did you type in Dickinson with an I-N?
I sent
D-I-C-K.
I sent it as a reply to what I sent this morning. So to J Dickinson with an IN at constaG.com.
Okay. Well, I guess I don't know why. Yeah, I do have the one that you sent at 1:48 p.m., 10 minutes before our meeting.
Yeah, that was the. Wait a second. There's a mistake in this. Let me give you the most recent or the corrected numbers. Apologize to everybody listening for the delay here.
Hey, John, this is Sherry. I just want you to know there's a message in the chat, and it's from Michelle, and it says, we need to know the rate of the university supplement for health insurance. Our insurance expires August 15th, and we need this number to decide if we can afford to enroll.
We're going to give them that information.
You're welcome, Michelle. I just wanted you to know, John, because you can't see this.
When we thank you for telling me, but when we get into our proposal, I want to cover insurance because that's going to be a big increase. Thank you, though. I don't want to hold up everything. Can we get started? I mean, I'll let y'all know when I get it. I do not have it, but I'm really interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah,
if you want to go ahead and start.
Yeah, I'll open up the Excel document too, so I can. Everybody else will be able to see where we are, and I'll give slide numbers. But I'll also have that open so I can give you reference as well. I do want to put on the record that as this is a public meeting, we are exercising our right to record it to be uploaded to YouTube later. So I've got the financial package over. That's not the right one. Oh, did I send the wrong thing this morning? I might have done. Okay, so I definitely did.
Kelly, did you just say you're recording this session?
Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So first slide is an introduction. Basically, I wanted to walk everybody through in about 10 minutes or so what our proposal is, which it sounds like USF is going to disagree significantly with our proposal, but we'll talk about that afterwards. I just want everybody to hear. So first of all, USF relies heavily on graduate assistant labor for both teaching and research. There's about 2,100 instructional faculty and 1,400 GAs and instructional job codes. So about 40% of instructional staff at USF are GAs. USF also employs about 485 other faculty, which isn't clearly defined, but I presume to mean research-only faculty. And there are 635 GAs in research job codes, or meaning a significant portion of the research done at USF is done by GAs. The living wage for a single adult with no dependents in Hillsborough County is roughly $26,000 to $28,000, depending on what source you look at. And yet, the average annual pay for a graduate assistant is only $18,000, which is a significant difference. And then on top of that, we're expected to pay tuition and fees just to be allowed to work in a GA job code. Those fees total about 10% of our after-tax income, which reduces our net pay. If you don't get summer funding, that reduces your net pay to only $16,000, which is 62% of the living wage. So I'm going to go on to the next slide. Should say living wage ratios at the top. So I meant to add a screenshot. So to give a summary of how USF stacks up against other universities, we found a site where people are able to put their stipends in online to compare across universities how much we're getting paid compared to the living wage in a given location. So I'm going to look at two case studies. Engineering, which is my department, and psychology, because a number of our executives are from the psychology department. So on the left, you have engineering. There's 50 different data points here. The one that's highlighted in green, that's me. The one that's highlighted in blue is an average of all 50. There's a wide range of different universities represented. There's UNC Chapel Hill, there's University of Tulsa. Stanford is on here twice because two different people at Stanford listed their information. There's Harvard. This does not include people who are on fellowship, and this does not include people who posted their summer funding separately, because summer funding sometimes is paid at a different rate. So from this, we can see that within engineering, living wage ratios range from a bare minimum of 0.7 in one case. Most are around 1.10. Some are as high as 1.5, 1.6. Average nationwide is 1.25. USF is 1.11. This is me personally with summer funding. So our living wage ratio in one of our best paid departments on campus is very low compared to the national average. Well, to the average of these. These are the first 50 data points that were available on that website. So it's a relatively random sample, but there might be some sampling bias present. So stepping from engineering, which is one of the best paid colleges, to psychology, which is one of the lower paid departments. In their case, the living wage ratio is 0.74 compared to the national average for psychology departments of 0.97. Again, USF pays less compared to its local living wage than other universities across the nation. So financial proposal topics. So first I'm going to give a summary of the cost of the proposals, then go into detail on stipend increases, fee relief, health insurance subsidies, dental insurance subsidies, leave policies, and then come back to look at the summary of the proposal cost again. So John mentioned before, summary of costs, John mentioned before that the total cost over 3 years of all of our proposals combined is $30 million. I did a little bit of forecasting based on the assumption that historical trends will be maintained to look at how much the USF budget might be expected to increase. One second. Sorry about that. With the acknowledgement that coronavirus does potentially complicate things. So based on that assumption, we can see that the annual operating budget for USF increases historically at a rate of roughly 2.18% per year, which would be an increase compared to fiscal year 2020 of 40 million in fiscal year 21, 81 million in 22, 124 million in 23. Obviously, this is a projection based on historical trends, which might be upended by the current situation, but we needed a baseline to be able to put these numbers into context. So our proposal for stipend increases, there's 3 scenarios outlined in the Excel document, but the one that's summarized in our actual proposal, which anybody following along can find that at usfgau.org/proposalgau. Our proposed changes to the stipends, looking at a 19.5 pay period per year, pay schedule at 0.5 FTE. We propose for the minimum stipends for master's GAs to be increased from $12,500 up to $15,000 in fiscal year 21. That's a large jump intended to bring master's GAs from borderline poverty up to something that's still very low, but it's a little bit more reasonable. That's the difference between, I don't know, being able to afford a closet versus being able to afford a bedroom. After that, the master's GAs would increase at 9% per year until they reach the point where doctoral GAs are right now. Doctoral GAs, on the other hand, are proposed to increase from the current value by at a rate of 5% per year up to $20,500 in fiscal year 23. So next slide, the stipend increases the cost to USF. The left shows the total and the added cost of our proposals. On the right, it zooms in on just the added cost of our proposals. So you can see that you can see from the left that the added cost of our proposals is relatively small compared to the total amount that is currently being spent on GA stipends. The increase per year is about $2 million in 21, $4 million in 22, $6 million in 23. Health insurance subsidies, we propose that USF will, instead of the current policy where they currently pay $2,410, I believe the number is, and then we're responsible for the rest. Our proposal is that USF will pay 100% of health insurance premiums. This analysis is based on the assumption of 1,429 GAs enrolled in healthcare as of spring 2020, and that the health insurance premiums will increase at about 16.9% per year based on historical average data. So that results in a cost over 3 years of roughly $4 million. Which compared to the current cost of $3.5 million it's a sizable increase, but still it's not huge. We also propose that USF will provide subsidized dental insurance at 100% of dental insurance premiums with the same number of GAs and using a baseline premium of $32.02, which is based off actual numbers for fiscal year 2020. And that the premiums will increase by 5% per year. That results in a cost to USF over 3 years of roughly 1.8 million, if my math is right, roughly $600,000 per year. Fee relief, we propose a reduction of tuition and fees of 30%, which is consistent with recent agreements at University of Florida and Florida State University. Our analysis assumes that all GAs are registered for full-time course loads of 9 credit hours in fall and spring, 6 credit hours in summer, in semesters when they have assistantships. We also assume that 50% of GAs are going to have assistantships over summer. That was randomly assigned based on a random number generator because we don't have that data for the summertime. So we had to work with the spring data. So the cost to USF is essentially the difference in revenue from the current $4 million per year or so for our unit to the proposed reduction. That cost comes out to about $1.2 or so million per year to USF. Now, I want to mention for this slide in particular that providing fee relief has a larger effect on typical GA's net annual pay than an increase in base stipend does. That's because the tuition and fees are taken out of our after-tax income. So essentially, if we're given, say, $100 in fee relief, that has the equivalent of about $110 or so of increase of stipend. This fee relief is particularly good value for money from USF's perspective and a GA's perspective. Now, moving on to sick and general and sick paid leave. First of all, I want to preface this with general leave is not something that we get right now. It is something that the faculty are given. General leave is important because it allows us to take mental health days. And taking mental health days is good for productivity, which is good for degree progress, which is good for USF on basically every metric. Our proposal basically continues 5 days per semester of sick leave, accruing up to 10 days, which is an addition, as well as gives us 5 days per semester, again accruing up to 10 days of general paid leave that we can use for vacations. That 10 days per year is important for international GAs in particular, because for example, if you're going to Turkey to visit your family, that's basically a full day of travel, 2 days of jet lag, a day of travel to get back, 2 more days of jet lag to get back. That's 6 days eaten up just in travel. And then you still want to be able to visit your family. So the cost of this proposal, we're assuming that every GA will take their full 10 days of leave per year. We don't expect that there'll be any changes to sick leave. So the cost of this comes out to a total of $2 million per year. Now, paid parental leave is something that is not offered to GAs, but is again offered to faculty. Our proposal is that each GA can take parental leave up to 2 times while employed at USF. Parental leave duration is 12 weeks. A single family cannot have 2 parents taking parental leave at the same time. That being said, that's somewhat generous, but we don't think that it's going to have a significant impact on how much parental leave is being taken. Most GAs are too busy to have kids, but there are reasons for GAs to have kids while they are in graduate school, and we would like to accommodate that. So our analysis assumes that 10% of the bargaining unit will take parental leave at one point during their tenure at USF, and another 5% will take it 2 times. So the number of parental leaves that our current bargaining unit can be expected to take is 20% of the current size. We assume that an average GA will take 5 years at USF, so that works out to 83.2 parental leaves per year, which works out to roughly $499,000 per year of cost to USF. So, summarizing again, so the total cost of all of these proposals over 3 years is $30 million. In order, based on how much it would cost USF, is stipend increases, sick and general leave, healthcare subsidies, fee relief, dental insurance subsidies, and parental leave. Fee relief compared to stipend increase for most GAs who are taking a full-time course load, which is to say everybody who's not expecting to graduate in this particular semester. Fee relief is more potent to increasing our net pay than stipend increases are. That being said, based off the projections, again, from historical data that might not be accurate because of coronavirus, but based off historical projections, our proposal is relatively modest. It's only about 12% of the projected increase in funding available to USF. So, last thing before I close out, I wanted to look at some of USF's other priorities of late. USF recently hired a new vice president of athletics with a starting salary of $625,000, or 3,472% higher than an average GA. This is an increase of $100,000 per year more than the previous person in the same position. USF's football coach is contracted at $12.5 million over 5 years, which is $2.5 million per year, or 13,888% higher than an average GA. USF recently spent $1 million on a new logo contracted from Merrill Lynch and then scrapped it because nobody liked it. USF recently spent $700,000 in campus beautification, building a fence around the campus. USF claims to have a significant positive impact on its local economy, with one report citing $500 million per year injected into the local economy. And yet USF pays about 13.5% of its workforce at large, less than a living wage. This number does not account for faculty and staff, who frequently will be in the same position as us, if not sometimes worse. So, in conclusion, USF, some of our best paid GAs have a living wage ratio of around 1.0. That's me personally. This is using the actual living wage as opposed to some outdated numbers on that PhD stipend website. And so the highest paid GAs are making basically a living wage, and everybody else is lower than that. That doesn't account for tuition and fees. That assumes that people have summer funding. If you're a psychology GA, after accounting for tuition and fees, your living wage ratio is 0.68. If you're a master's GA, actually, I don't think that 0.68 accounts for the tuition and fees. Master's GAs have a living wage ratio less than 0.5. In addition to all of this, international GAs are legally prohibited from working off campus, and they're also not guaranteed summer funding. So all of the financial issues that affect domestic GAs like myself are compounded for international GAs. USF works because we do. We demand to be treated with dignity. Pay us a living wage. The floor is now open for questions and further discussion.
I don't have any questions. Any of my team members have any questions to ask Kelly? Okay. First of all, thank you, Kelly, for your presentation. We appreciate that. The $29,689,000 proposal may at some point have a time and a place, but not now. Everything that you said discounts where we are in history, respectfully. We are having a pandemic that's not been experienced, and it's having huge economic effects on both the public and the private sectors. And certainly this university is feeling the effects of it. We know we got a 6%. Go ahead.
We're aware of this, but go on.
No, you finish. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I wasn't really saying anything in particular. Carry on.
I forgot what I was going to say. But let me go ahead and give you our proposal, rather than me try to catch up with what I was about to say.
Sure.
Our proposal is to sign a 1-year memorandum of understanding to get us through this period, and hopefully by after the next couple semesters we'll know more about it. But we're proposing that the MOU be extended through the 30th day of June 2021. That basically the agreement that that expired the status quo would maintain in effect, with the exception of we would be agreeable to roll in the language that the parties have tentatively agreed to, and that we've worked so hard on to roll that into the memorandum of understanding, so that work would be included in the agreement. What this would do would maintain the status quo when it comes to the minimum stipends that are set forth in the agreement. And it's notable, I think, that the stipend figures that are in the contract are minimum. They're minimum, not maximum. And so if things turn around, if an amazing miracle takes place that would allow the university to do something with stipends, we'd certainly have the capability. The university could do that under the language of the agreements. And so it's not like we'd necessarily be locked into that from the prevention of any increases. But what it would do for your bargaining unit is it would basically hold them harmless and protect them, at least with those minimums, and prevent any kind of a decrease that might be necessary in cost to the university. So they would come with a real benefit to that. The also thing that we want to include as an element to this MOU, and it's been kind of mentioned before, I know in a meeting that we had, and that is heading down the railroad tracks is an increase on insurance, health insurance premiums. And you mentioned, I think in your slides, that it's an average of 16%, a year increase. Right now, the university, when we agreed in 2016 with the GAU, the parties placed into the Article 23 a maximum, a cap on the annual amount that the university would be responsible for the health insurance premium. And of course, that was a quid pro quo. That was something in exchange for increases in stipends and other financial things that were agreed upon. And GAU agreed to that. It was ratified by the parties, and it's still in the agreement. And it's part of the status quo. And that calls for a $2,410 maximum annually per enrollee that the university would have to shoulder. We know this, that the increase in premium is going to go up based on the information that we get, and we're not in control of this now. It's going to go up to $2,916 a year per enrollee for health insurance. So, it's going to climb dramatically, and under the agreement, of the current language of the agreement, that would trigger a premium cost per enrollee in the unit of $506 a year. That would go up from, I think, right now, the amount that's being shouldered by the employee is $159 a year. and it would go up from 159 to 506. That's the fact. That's where we're facing, and we're just waiting on the implementation day in August or so. So what we would be prepared to do to get this 1 year agreement to get us through this very uncertain time, problematic, uncertain time that we're in. The university would propose as part of this 1 year MOU that we would pay $2,740. We would increase it. We'd go beyond the $2,410 that's in the agreement, and we would increase our contribution if we can get, and this is all part of a package, but if we could get in the agreement, we would go as a university to $2,740 a year per person. And the modest increase under this proposal that would be for the bargaining unit member would go from 159 to 174.90. So we're talking about a $15.90 increase annually only. The only increase would be that. So our proposal would be, let's head off. We know that this increase is coming. I mean, we've been told what the amount is, and so our proposal would be, as with including those elements that I just outlined to you, and it would be a tremendous help, we believe, to the unit when it comes to the cost of health insurance. And let's get us through this period. And let's partner to do that, recognizing that we're in a historic time. The slides that you put together, as comprehensive as they appear to be, do not take into effect what's going on. And so we just are not in a position to shoulder an additional $30 million on top of the cost. That's an increase, okay, as you know. That's an increase that you're proposing. And so that's our proposal. We believe it's very realistic, and the modest increase that we're asking the bargaining unit member to assume for the health insurance, we think would be a real benefit to them, given the fact that right now, under the status quo doctrine and under the statute, as you know, as well as the section that we agree to, it would be a big difference between $506 a month and $174.90. So that's our proposal. We hope you'll strongly consider it.
Okay, so just to make sure that I'm clear on what you're saying, and just like to summarize that back in my own words. So you're proposing a 1 year MOU, basically like a 1 year continuing resolution, essentially, to put it in terms that would be familiar in Senate or whatever to Congress. Basically a 1 year continuing resolution where we come to an agreement on the non-financial language, and that those changes go into effect with the MOU. The minimum stipends as currently being paid, or as currently being guaranteed, are maintained, and there will be a modest increase to USF's contribution to healthcare premiums. Does that sound like a?
Yes, it does,
accurate?
and yes, it does. I think you have. We would want to include, however, the one thing that I wanted to mention that we want if we go to $2,740 a year, we want that would be stipulated. It would be up to a maximum contribution requirement of the university for this period of $4.5 million. I mean, we think that would cover everything, but we want to make sure they have some cap on that. So it would be the agreement would be that the university would contribute $2,740 per person up to a maximum of total, and again, it depends on how many people are enrolled and all that, to a total of $4.5 million contribution requirement by the university. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And we would put this. I just didn't have time, given the circumstances, to put this together for you, but I can. Once y'all think about it, if this is something that we can do, our team could put something together for you promptly.
Yeah, we definitely understand that there's been a lot going on. Like the reason our proposal was delayed as much as it was. We sent it on Wednesday. Normally we would have sent it like 2 weeks ago, but we also had our own stuff to deal with the student ban and having to organize around that, and that took up a lot of time because it's important to us that we protect our international community in every way, and so that kind of delayed things, and we understand that similar stuff.
Kelly, I want to say this too.
Side.
All of your hard work, just hold on to. I mean, it doesn't mean that when we'll look at all these. You can put all these proposals back on the table when we come back to the table next year. And if we're in a different circumstance, some of this could certainly be considered. We're not asking you to scrap what you've done. We're just saying, look, let's get us through this period,
right? And
let's get us by this, so that we can get on with. And we're real concerned about the insurance cost for your unit. We really are. So we'd like to see if we could, get an agreement. And so go ahead if you want. You want to take a break and caucus and then, how would you want to do this? Do you think it's going to be something where y'all can talk about it today, or do you want a break and then us schedule another meeting?
Well, we have some non-financial stuff that we still haven't finished off yet, so we do want to get to that today.
Honestly, our proposal would be, because we've looked at your material, which is largely what we've already discussed.
Right.
And already given you a response to, and we aren't agreeable to changing our position with respect to what we've already expressed. We did notice that you tweaked it a little bit, but not enough that would make any difference. Unless, respectfully, we would suggest to you that we just stick with what we've already agreed to.
So
we're not in a position to agree to any of your proposals. We have looked at those.
So it sounds to me like you're primarily, when you say that that we didn't tweak things enough, it sounds to me like you're primarily talking about our requirement that we receive better communication in terms of reappointment. So for anybody who doesn't have our proposal open, which again can be found at usfgau.org/proposalgau, I believe. So our proposal there was, first of all, your position in our last bargaining session was essentially that you're concerned that if our previous proposal, I should say, start from there. Our previous proposal was that if it's not practicable for an appointment letter to be provided by the deadlines, that USF would send out basically a mass email to anybody affected to say, hey, so we know you're waiting on this, you haven't been forgotten about, and we expect it to be ready at a certain point. Your concern there, assuming I'm remembering correctly, would be that we would be unsatisfied with the content of that letter and that we would raise a grievance about it, which could potentially go to arbitration and become very expensive for USF. So we believe we've adequately responded to that. We've softened our position, trying to take your position into account. That first of all, it is very important to us that we have that job security. Essentially, that small amount of effort on USF's part goes a long way in giving us peace of mind and ability to focus on what we need to do. If we're not wondering about, am I going to be able to pay rent, at least to the same extent. Like if I'm wondering that, has my department forgot about me and I'm not going to get a position in the fall, that there's a difference between that versus, okay, so my department knows that I'm concerned and they'll get back to me soon. There's a difference there. So in our proposal, we softened our position from a hard deadline to, well, first of all, it was a hard deadline. Then it became a letter to communicate. Now it's a letter that we've spelled out the text of that letter, which I'm just going to read it real quickly. To those it may concern, confirmation of a formal offer of employment for some graduate appointments have been delayed beyond the notice of reappointment date of either April 30th or June 30th, specified in Article 2.4D of the CBA between USF and GAU. We are working to resolve this in a timely manner. It is expected that a decision regarding your formal letter of offer will be processed and submitted to you for review by expected date. However, unforeseen circumstances may delay this further, in which case an updated notice will be sent out instead. Note that any offered appointment will be contingent upon the submission of required documentation of employability. Any offer may also be contingent upon criminal background checks consistent with policies. This letter does not guarantee the receipt of a formal offer of employment. So this would be a mass email sent out to a number of GAs simultaneously. It's not something that a department has to send to each individual. It's, okay, so Kelly needs to be included, Sam needs to be included, and Laurel needs to be included. Okay, and we're going to BCC all three of those. In addition to that, it's a form letter that takes very little effort on the department's on the part of the department, but we've also added a provision to account for your concern about going to arbitration, that as long as this letter, which is already written, as long as it's sent out, the provision is not grievable. And so essentially what I'm getting at is I'm not sure what the continued issue is here. Like, we've addressed your concerns.
Also, could I interject?
First of all, I think what's going on here is that you're just talking to your group. In other words, this is I guess for window dressing, you're outlining everything to the folks who are on the phone rather than actually negotiating with us. We've already, you've mischaracterized, Kelly. I know it wasn't intentional, but you've mischaracterized the various reasons that we've given in previous meetings, which I'm not going to repeat, for the problem we have with your D and E under 2.4. These are new provisions that you're trying to inject. We've talked about the impracticality of them. It wasn't just the grievance. I don't know where you focus that entirely on. So to characterize it the way it's been done, and I'm bargaining with you now. This is not just for purposes of the audience. I'm trying to explain to you that we are not in agreement with your D and your E for the reasons we've given you before. And you're right. You did add a provision that says acceptable text for which is provided in Appendix X, and then you added, but you want to make sure to be careful with the way you've written this, is that provided that the notice is sent out at the appropriate date, then it's not grievable. So although that was one issue, it was just one of many that we had with this, it's still a problem with respect to that. So in all due respect, the change that was made is not substantive as far as we're concerned of why it was the two provisions that we wouldn't agree to, okay? And we noticed that, for example, you did amend that, but you still, the substance of what we've been talking about with respect to these provisions is contained within your proposal, your latest proposal. And we noticed that there were other things that you changed in your proposal. For example, let me go back. There was something new in Article 10, there are leaves of absence. You got a whole new text there in lines 15 through 19 and so forth, and you got a new 10.4. I mean, my point is this, that we've carefully gone through, even though we just got it Wednesday, our team did go through this. We are not agreeable to the proposals that you've made, and we could continue to meet over it and talk, but we believe that time is of the essence. Now, y'all can decide whether you want to continue to meet. We'll be happy to continue to meet, but we're staring down the barrel of an insurance increase, and time is of the essence, we believe, to do something with that. I mean, but that's and also faced with the financial dilemma and uncertainty that this university is facing. So nothing's, we don't think, going to be changed in the next couple of weeks over the financial condition of the university, and we're not going to retreat from our position that we've already discussed with you on these remaining economic, or non-economic items. We're willing to continue to talk if you want to, but we're telling you, we've looked at it and we're not agreeing to that language. Okay? In all due respect.
I'm just going to interject. I think it's really interesting that this idea of sending out this notification is such a burden when the university has insisted, and we were willing to consider this idea of job abandonment, and we have to notify our department within a certain time frame, that we're unable to perform our duties. Well, it's really interesting that the university heads of department are too burdened by this. I think it's a pretty simple, pretty narrow, very specific request that just, guarantees a sense of job security. At least, that the university knows this person exists. I really don't. I think that the arguments that this is a burden are just not good, especially if you consider what the university expects of us. That they expect notification, information from us in a timely manner. We're really just asking for exactly what the university expects from us, I think. So I just want to interject that.
Well, I would expect you would say that. I mean, it's your proposal. But we've expressed our disagreement, and there's nothing further to be said. But I can understand. You've elaborated just that way before in prior meetings that we've had in discussing these two new proposals that you're inserting into the agreement that have never been there before.
With all due respect, that language was there last time with respect to the timely notice. We've made tweaks, but for the most part, that was in our last proposal that we discussed at the last session.
Kelly, I'm not saying that was my point, Kelly. Maybe I didn't explain myself well. This has been on the table. We've discussed it numerous times before. These are new. When I say new, these are new proposals. There are provisions that are new to the agreement that were proposed by you. No, I didn't mean to say that you haven't presented it to them, to us before. You have, and we've discussed it in detail with you. These same two paragraphs, even though you may have tweaked it a little bit, it's the substance. So I didn't mean to say that you hadn't proposed it, but you have. But it's new to the agreement, is what I meant to say. These are added provisions to the agreement that we don't agree upon as a university. We don't agree to that. So we can continue to talk, and it can hold up things, but we're trying to express to you again our position that we're not agreeable to them. Okay?
Well, I think we've moved on a number of issues, and it seems like the university's not moving on this one very narrow, particular problem, and I just don't think that the university arguments hold water. It's kind of unfortunate that we're at a roadblock on this particular issue.
Well, I just disagree with you. When you characterize that the university hasn't made movement at the table, it's not correct. Sam, and maybe it plays well, to a group in a group setting to say that, but when you dig down and look at what's going on at the table, I think both parties have rolled up their sleeves and shown flexibility. Okay,
Mr.
So
Dickinson,
I disagree with that.
one thing that you moved on, or USF has given us or said yes to? Because I can't think of anything right now.
Well, I'm sure if I go through there, I could do that. I'm not going to do it right now.
All right. Well, okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So should we go over the other non-economic issues that we have to talk about?
However you want to do that, that's fine with us.
So we've been talking specifically about we've gone over our desire for paid parental leave, but I just want to personally add a testimony there that I needed parental leave last year, and I didn't have it, and I really would have appreciated it at the time. I had to get my friends to substitute my class so I could help my wife, and I only took about a week and a half off, and then I was back teaching again. Because, I have rent to pay. And so, this is something that directly affected me. I really care about it. And, a lot of us have real desire to see the university make a move on this. I think it's a moral point. And I think we have other testimonies on this point, not only mine. So Lowell, did you want to chime up on about the testimonies about parental leave? You have had other students who have had children too and have had issues, their inability to get paid parental leave.
Mm-hmm. We'll listen to anything you want to present.
So we do have a number of testimonies. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
I do. I hear you fine.
Okay. We do have a number of testimonies about paid parental leave, and particularly that having, like Sam said, friends to substitute classes, or a professor who's willing to give you a summer appointment in order to help you financially, having that not in the CBA, having to rely on the kindness of a particular friend or a particular professor for support during parental leave, just isn't working for the GAs. Not having parental leave sends a message that the university is not willing to help us or support us if we were to have children during our tenure at the university, many of whom in our testimonies have said that these 5 years where you are in your PhD or years where you're in your MA are years where you might be interested in trying to start a family, but USF, they don't feel that USF supports them in that.
And I take your proposal on that, the cost would be almost $500,000 a year. Is that right?
That is right.
I mean, it's a high estimate, but, we're being, generous in our estimates. And I want to add, too, actually, that's something else about the accumulated sick leave is that, part of the issue is that for medical reasons, I needed more than 6 weeks if it would have been available. And that's even more the case for mothers, for instance, who say need a C-section or something. That's something that's unavoidable. They're saving their lives literally through this operation, but it means that they obviously can't stand up and teach for much longer than they otherwise would have been able to. So I think that's another thing that motivates our desire for accumulated sick leave, or general leave, in fact, which is something that the professors have, and they have much more accumulation than us, right? We're only asking for 5 accumulated days. So it's not a huge change, right? And it'll really, allow international students who, as Kelly talked about, right?
And by your calculation, the cost of that would be $2 million.
Right, based on the assumption that because, so there's 2 points to that. So the first point is the assumption was that the sick leave and the general leave would be 2 separate categories, and that is where the $2 million comes from. If the two were kept as one, it would be vastly smaller than that, largely because basically the reason we don't take vacations, it's probably threefold, but 2 things come to mind off the top of my head. First of all, there's just incredible pressure on administrative levels, on faculty levels. Basically, there's pressure at every level for us to be in the lab 40, 60, 80 hours a week when we're getting paid for 20. But second of all, there's the fact that because we only get 5 days of leave per semester, or 10 days per year, and that leave covers both vacation and sickness, means that we don't take vacations, because if we get sick, then we're not getting paid because we're sick. And because there's so little of it and they conflict with each other, I know I personally anyway, I can't speak for everybody, but I personally am hesitant to use either, because if I have a cold today and I don't want to go into the lab and get everybody else sick, well, what happens if I then get in a car accident and spend 5 days in the hospital? Similarly, I'm not going to take a mental health day when I need it, because I don't want to take away from my sick leave.
Yeah.
And so that's where the $2 million comes from, is the assumption that because they've been separated, people will actually use those, or will actually use their personal leave, which does come at cost to the university, but it also gives benefits to the university in that mental health is better, which means productivity is better, means that student performance metrics are better, as well as USF's performance is better, that people are more productive, and more productive people are producing more papers and are giving higher quality education. So.
Monica has her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that having only those 5 days per semester often means that if I'm traveling to present research, if that happens to be abroad, that can eat up almost my entire time off, right? So then I'm left to make choices about sick leave and whether or not I can afford to take sick leave, when really the days that I took off earlier were in order to go out, share my research, make the university look good, further my career. And without that differentiation between time off and sick leave, I'm forced to choose between the two. That's all.
So, Monica, this is Jim Gary. I just have a question for you because I think I'm missing something. If you are presenting something at a meeting anywhere, it's part of your job. I mean, it's part of being a student. It's part of the process. And are you telling me that in order for you to attend a meeting that your supervisor wants you to attend, you have to take sick leave?
That's the contract as it stands, yes.
Yes.
I mean, I think good heads of department wouldn't enforce that, but that's the point. Is we want the contract to be more kind of clear on this,
Because I don't
so
think
we
it
don't
says
have to
that.
rely on the goodwill.
Dr. Airy, Article 10, leave of absence, 10.1 says we get 5 days of paid leave per semester appointment. 10.2 says an employee may use paid leave described in 10.1 above when, where is that? C, traveling to conferences or other events for professional development.
So if I have to cancel class, for instance, because I'm traveling to present research at another university, that's technically one of my days off.
Okay, well, thank you.
Again, I think the issue isn't that this needs to be reliant on the kindness of my supervisor. If my supervisor were to understand that differently, it's that the contract needs to reflect that differently.
Exactly. I mean, I think that this is something that, it's pretty clear, would help the university in facilitating our conferences and stuff. I also worth pointing out, I presented at a conference after my wife gave birth too, not right after, but within the same semester. And of course, incidentally, the university funding doesn't always cover the costs of travel. That's another matter. But, if we're taking time off for that, then we should certainly, be able to compensate for the difference between the actual cost of travel and the amount that we can actually get from the student government funding. I want to move on to the issue of student employee. So this is something that we're hoping that the university is willing to drop, because I just don't think it has anything. I don't think any of us think it does. We are employees. We are students. We don't see the reason to add this when the preamble of the contract specifically says that we are graduate students who are employees. And so the preamble already says that we are students first and employees second. Now, that's not a reason to add that to the job letter language, right? It's already in the preamble. And in fact, you could add so many other possible adjectives, right? We're also human beings, right? We don't need to say human being employees, right? Either it's a waste of ink or it's just a way to reduce the sense in which we're employees and not also students.
Sam, under our proposal, that would not be included in the MOU. I just want to make myself clear, the things that would be included in the MOU would be the things that have been TA'd, tentatively agreed upon. Anything else that's not been tentatively agreed upon would not be in the MOU, and it would not be part of the agreement. Okay?
Okay. So in that case, the university is dropping the arguments on misdemeanors.
Dropping what now?
About misdemeanors and felonies.
Yeah, that would not be included. That would not be included in the MOU either.
Okay, because we did a bunch of research to demonstrate that was a bad idea.
Yeah, well, if we don't reach an agreement with the MOU, we can address that, some more. I mean, but right now our MOU would mean that provision would not be included. Only that because that wasn't TA'd. Okay.
Okay. Well, in case of that, just to we can cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah. The university agreed to your changes, that you wanted in 8.1. We agreed to the other changes, and they've been TA'd. Okay, but that sentence that you didn't like, and that wouldn't be included as part of this. Okay.
In that case, I think we should go to caucus.
Okay.
That's our current view. Should we reconvene in half an hour?
Yeah, sure. Whenever you saw it, that'd be 3:45.
I believe it would be. I mean, technically it would be 3:50, but I think we could save.
You want to make it 3:50? That's fine with us. We could do 3:50.
Let's go 3:45 just to give us that extra 5 minutes. Caucus
okay,
always
we'll all
takes
call
time.
in at 3:45.
Great.
Right.
Mr. Dickinson, can I ask you one question really quickly? My name is Matthew Eckel. I'm the USF GAU grievance chair.
Oh, I know who you are. Yeah, go ahead.
Just really quickly, because it would be helpful information for us in our bargaining when we do caucus right now. Regarding your proposal about the year-long memorandum of understanding, can you give us any sense of what kind of just commitments, not official commitments in any capacity at all, but what kind of commitments would your negotiating team be interested in as far as negotiating throughout the year, or at least negotiating as that year-long memorandum of understanding comes to a close on 6/30/2021?
We would not want there to be midterm bargaining over an MOU. In other words, once we have it, it would be for the period of time that the MOU is in effect. Our proposal would not include any bargaining during that time.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just another quick follow-up. If this is a one-year MOU, I would imagine that during the next academic year, we would begin bargaining for...
That's right, yeah.
We have more clarity financially to bargain with us during this coming academic year?
Well, let me answer the first question. I would anticipate that we would be back at the table certainly prior to June 30th, and we can talk about a date on when you think we need to be back. But I would think it would be February, March, something like that.
I would hope so. If the university has clarity by then, do you think that there is such a thing as clarity to be gained in the next 6 months?
That's a great question. I wish we knew the answer to that. It would be like asking somebody when the pandemic's going to be ending. Well, I don't think any of us knows that. Any one of us knows that, we don't have a crystal ball.
Thanks. That's all the clarity I needed.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
So I think we'll reconvene at 3:45 then.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Is the university team there?
Yes, I'm back on.
Okay. What about Gary and Barr and the rest?
Let me ask him about it. Jim, are you on? Give him another minute. I'm sure he'll be on in a minute, Sam.
Okay.
It looks like Dr. Barr is here, though.
I'm on, Mr. Ruth Barr.
Hey, Ruth.
Hi.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
I hear you,
got it.
Cal.
So, should we get started with our position?
Let me ask, Jim, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and Olga, are you with us?
I am.
Judith?
I'm here.
Okay. Dr. Barr, are you on? Ruth?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And I guess Linda and Sherry are on. Okay, let's, and Liz, are you on?
Yes.
All right. Sam, Kelly, we're fine if you want to start.
Okay.
Sam, you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. So we do not accept the proposed MOU as it's currently stands, but we do want to keep negotiating and settle on a one-year contract that our counter proposal for you guys is that you cover 100% of the health insurance costs in as much as the insurance rates are being projected during a pandemic. We don't feel like it makes any sense, especially since the university is wanting us to teach and do research on the university campus for any fee whatsoever for health insurance. We also want full dental, and we want a reduction of student fees comparable to what other universities have had with their graduate students. Because it doesn't make any sense for us to be paying all these additional fees, considering this is basically paying money to work, right? We're paying the health insurance fee to work. We're paying student fees to work. It doesn't make any sense to ask us to pay this money to begin with. Now, we understand and respect the university's position about its financial situation post-COVID-19, but considering that Steve Carell makes, I believe, roughly $1 million, and that's more than Genschaft made, who was the 6th best paid public university president in the country, considering, the immense salary of the football coach and, many other top tier employees of the university. If we consider the Merrill Lynch logo that got dropped that cost the university $1 million, it's hard to see from our point of view why the university is so poor that it can't cover all of our insurance costs, that it can't cover dental, that it can't reduce student fees. And we feel like this is actually pretty modest proposal. So we would like to meet next week, if possible, to continue these discussions, because we see that there is a bit of a time crunch. But we really are hoping to have some movement from the university's point of view on these issues. Because, this pleading poverty, we understand the economy's not good. But in fact, if anything, that's why the university needs to prioritize us more, right? We are not the biggest expense on the university by any standard. And, when you have a pandemic, it doesn't make sense to disincentivize your employees from getting health insurance. And that's exactly what an increase in the amount of health insurance fees does, right? We're teaching freshmen who may have COVID-19, and we're taking all these precautions, and we just feel like it's an injustice. It's a moral point that we deserve full coverage during this pandemic. So we're hoping that you're amenable to at least discuss this next week, if possible.
Let me ask you, I want to make sure that I understand your counter. 100% of health insurance increase would be assumed by the university. Is that right? That's your proposal?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that would go up to the university have to pay $2,916 for each person. That's your proposal on that. And you said full dental under your proposal, and then the fee relief that you've outlined, is that what you also added, the 30% reduction of fees?
Yeah. We feel like it's a modest reduction. We shouldn't honestly have fees in the first place, but we're willing to say, okay, the university maybe can't, just start throwing money around in COVID-19 time, but we would like to see some movement in the right direction on fees. And 30%.
Sam, were there any other elements beside those three things that I just outlined? I know there's it'd be a 1 year deal. I just want to make sure that before we break up today, that we understand your proposal. Is there anything else I need to know about?
Dental and vision coverage, by the way, not just dental.
I mean, I would certainly like to see some other things thrown in, but I think we're really trying to give you guys a modest proposal in the hope that you guys can accept it and we can move on.
Well, I'm just asking, are there any other elements, or did I outline them correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. We're going to propose that we meet on the 28th rather than the 24th. Could you all do the 28th? That's a Tuesday, I think.
Let me check.
Okay.
At 2:00.
We were going to propose it too. Yeah, that's usually a good time for people.
Yeah, I'm free pretty much any time that day. My schedule is flexible.
Okay. What about you, Sam?
I could meet at 2:00 on a Tuesday.
Okay. Well, we'll agree to do the 28th meeting at 2. And what I'm going to do is between now and then try to put mine in writing. If you want to put yours in writing too, it may be good just to have it. Sometimes you lose things at the table, when it's oral. But if you put it in writing, it's clear. Anyway, I'm going to do mine. It's up to you. But I'll do the universities in writing and try to get it to you and Kelly, certainly before the 28th, okay? Our MOU proposal.
Sure, preferably sooner. We'll plan to get ours done sooner than that too.
Okay.
So 28. So do you think we could agree to have proposals go both ways by like the 23rd or so of next week? No, that's a Thursday.
I'll as soon as I can get. I'm Monday and Tuesday. I'm in Fort Pierce with an arbitration hearing, Kelly, and I'm not even going to be in my office. I leave Sunday for that trip, and so I don't get back until the 22nd. I doubt that I can get it to you the 23rd. I'll try, but it's probably going to be after the 23rd before I could get it to you. Okay. I mean, it's not going to be complicated. I mean, I just need to have time to put it together, and so I'll do my best. I can't promise, but I'll do my best. As soon as I get it to you, I will, Kelly. I promise I'll do that. Okay. Anything else?
I think we're done for the day. Thanks to everyone on your team for coming. And thanks, Kelly, for presenting so wonderfully.
Yeah. Thank you, Kelly. We really do mean that. It's obviously you put a lot of time and thought into that.
Jackson, you did really great.
I mean, I put a lot of thought into it, but it didn't actually take that long. I know what I'm doing.
Yes, you do know what you're doing. It's obvious.
An engineer.
Well, thank you all. We'll see you week after next.
All right, y'all take care. I think our team will come back on our other line just for a brief chat, and y'all have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Your team. I hope your team has a good weekend, Sam and Kelly. Bye bye.